Hey all, here OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the bloody M90s. These are TWS wireless buds, which are geared towards gaming as well as music listening. They have ANC for active noise cancellation, and they're a relatively feature-stacked model that is priced at around $75. So not necessarily the cheapest that we've seen, but it tries to stand out a little bit more with its styling and, again, having a nice array of features including low latency support if you are doing higher frame rate gaming. Though it's not a brand that I've heard about in the past, I do like their name Bloody and definitely is evoking a pretty interesting connotation that kind of bodes well with the dramatic red accents as well as the gaming nature. Other capabilities include wireless charging support, so if you pop this onto a Qi charging mat, it will work. Uses the latest Bluetooth 5.1 and also environmental noise cancellation for talking, so if you are making calls or having kind of chats with friends as you are gaming, it should still sound clean even if you're in a relatively noisy zone. It is using drivers which are a little bit special compared to regular dynamic drivers, constructed out of what they call MOCI carbon structure, and it's 10 millimeters, and they claim that this overall fiber texture to these drivers should improve the sound quality. We'll talk about that, of course, more in this video. In terms of battery life, with the case combined, you get 24 hours when on the road, which is just average, competitive with the Apple AirPods, but when the buds are removed, they will last for up to 4 hours on a full charge, which I do find to be a little bit on the shorter side. However, these are very lightweight, so that might be the reason behind that. They do have IPX4 for splash resistance and rainproof, as well as when you open up the lid, the buds will automatically turn on and begin to quickly pair with your phone. They can be used independently, so if you want to use the left or right side without wearing both, that is also entirely possible. So here we have the M90s presented just right on top. We'll take a closer look at this in a moment. Other accessories include a quick start guide, spare silicone tips accented in red, and also a Type-C cable for charging. These don't have built-in volume up and down as part of those built-in controls. It may not be a deal breaker for everyone, but it is definitely worth mentioning. Closer look here at the battery case. It is mainly made out of this matte black plastic. However, it has a few stripes here which are made out of aluminum, and otherwise just has a Type-C port for charging on the base, which is also accented there in red. We have some LED status lights which will tell you the percentage of the battery remaining whenever you open up the lid, and a little bit of branding info inside there as well. So the size here is comparable, a little bit longer, but not too much in terms of thickness, quite easy to still put into a pocket. The buds themselves are magnetic, pretty easy just to pop in there for charging and also to remove when you are taking them out. Very tight so they don't accidentally fall out, and then the hinge as well stays in place until you apply more pressure to close it shut. They do have a little bit of a stem pointing outwards, but they are very lightweight. Again, made out of this matte plastic material. The bloody logo here is touch sensitive, which is slightly flat, making it a little easier to tap and hit when you are accessing the controls, which were pretty responsive in my testing so far. And then also some of the tips for the buds themselves also are accented in red, but that's a little harder to see. It is using just a regular fabric mesh, and they are comfortable when you're wearing them. They don't apply too much pressure, they felt secure without falling out, and I could wear them for the full 4 hours without really any stress or strain. Now, talking a little bit more about the performance and the audio quality, the good news here is despite having kind of a nice presentation and this interesting branding Bloody, they actually do sound very good. It's not just a case of style over substance. I'm glad to report that the drivers that they've used here, the 10 millimeters, is again a little larger than what you'd usually see out of wireless buds. And as a general rule of thumb, larger drivers can pack in bigger sound and more detail that's more dynamic, and that certainly comes through here. You have plenty of bass, so for buds that are still quite light and compact, you do get a nice thump when you're listening to a drum beat or EDM music. Kind of rattles a little bit, but not overpowering, but at the same time preserves a lot of detail in the trebles and vocals. So I was able to hear a lot of instrumentals, singers, textures, a lot of intricacies, in fact, that cheaper buds would often just make it harder to discern. All of this is picked up very well by these drivers. I was definitely impressed in that regard. You definitely get immersed in the music quite easily, and the sound is spacious it's clean. I didn't hear any static, no real hints of hissing, nothing like that in the background. And you can play and pause the track and there's no popping or anything annoying going on. Another pleasant surprise here is triggering the gaming mode didn't necessarily change the sound signature. So even in that mode, although they're claiming that the audio resolution and detail is getting slightly reduced, I still found it to overall sound quite similar in my testing at least, indeed effective for things like aforementioned watching back movies, as well as gaming. If anything though, I would say that the noise cancellation part, or ANC, is kind of the weakest link out of the functions that I've tested. It certainly makes a difference with it turned on, but like other lower cost buds, if you're comparing it with something from Sony or Bose, it's not quite there. I would say the effectiveness here is maybe around 80% in terms of reducing background sounds. Engine sounds, if you're in a car or near an airport, definitely is repressed and definitely makes a difference. You don't have to turn the volume quite as high, not as distracting, but voices and even some background chatter can still leak in as you are wearing them with the mode turned on. So not going to be night and day, but still is a nice subtle mode that's baked in. Audio transparency mode is arguably a little bit more effective. I found it to be well balanced, and I was able to have a conversation, even hear my own voice very clearly, even though the buds are being worn. Finally, just ending on a quick demo of the charging, or wireless charging I should say, in action. Just pop it onto the mat and the process pretty much instantly starts. It takes just around an hour or so for it to completely top up, and then when the buds are inside the case, they can charge up pretty quickly. Just around 10 minutes or so will get you almost a 90% charge. So that is more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the bloody M90s. Pros here include excellent sound quality coupled with effective low latency gaming mode. Cons would be I do find the battery life could probably be elongated. Some additional touch controls that can be remapped would also be a nice touch, especially since again the volume up and down are not baked in. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.